And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Lakers weekend, everyone. Lakerholics Spotlight. It is Gerald Glassford coming back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Inside Sports Fantasy Football, of course, all the great folks that help this show out, including Joe Soro, as much to my chagrin. He is always Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. You're late, Tom. Shame
Sorry
on
about
you.
that, guys.
That's a demerit for you, young man. All right. But I'm doing my intro, so you just sit there and in the corner and be quiet. But of course, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Joe Soro again, Simblades, SimbladesWithAY.com. Our good friends, John Costa at Lakers Corner and Clutch Talk. Please follow him. Stone Hansen, who was on earlier this week. Please support him at report_court. He's giving you a better idea of all the draft prospects on his Twitter at report_court. Our good friend also as well, Empire Chef TV, Lakers in 5, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, also as well the John McCallion channel. Please support all these great channels. And speaking of supporting great channels, of course, support ours right here. And of course, the best place to go for all your Lakers news, info, and opinions outside of the Lakers Fast Break is, of course, the bickering duo of Jamie Sweet and Laker Tom, and Michael Heinrich's there too, moderating it all at Lakerholics.com. Of course, the Lakers, even in the NBA playoffs going on, hot and heavy, game 5, game 6, game 7, the Lakers just can't help themselves. What's up, Lakers in 5? The Lakers just can't help themselves by being in the news. They just cannot give the spotlight to anyone else because they're always doing something to get the ire of the reporters that are out there, whether it's LeBron James going and sitting at courtside at Cleveland Cavaliers games, whether it's his son doing whatever he's doing at the draft combine, and based on your opinion, one way or the other, is doing something at the NBA draft combine. Rob Pelinka in Chicago interviewing candidates and also as well talking to LeBron about potential draft choices. What is the offseason plan for the Los Angeles Lakers? What's up, Alan? How you doing? Darren, great to have you back. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to have you back, my friend. It is, of course, the Lakers offseason plan, which we will discuss today. And here today to go ahead and do that, much discussion on it, is a good friends indeed, plus also as well a new friend to me because I've seen his work already on Lakerholics.com. And I saw him last week having to endure an hour of Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet. It is Michael Heinrich and, of course, L. Rob. L. Rob is great, but, you guys moderating those two clowns, I don't know how you do it, man. But okay, all right. But that being said, Michael Heinrich, the editor behind Lakerholics.com. Great to have you here, Michael. I'm going to start off with you. When you see the Lakers getting and grabbing the headlines throughout the week, what does that tell you first about what the offseason plan might be for the Los Angeles Lakers?
Just a one word: chaos. I mean, it's.
You said dumpster fire before we went on the air.
Well, that's 2 words. I thought I'd shorten it to just one word. I mean, or a chaotic dumpster fire, if you prefer 3 words.
Exactly.
I don't know what their plan is. I really don't. The coaching search is, to me, it's like I'm not really fond of anybody. All of the guys with experience have been fired at some point in their careers. And then we got
you got unproven assistants and a podcaster.
Yeah. So it's nothing. I'm not completely, really excited about any particular person. They have to get this done as quickly as possible, though, because you can't. I mean, you've got the draft coming up, and you would like to draft, if you're going to keep the draft picks, which may or may not happen, you want to draft according to who you're going to be having the coach. Free agents are going to want to know who's coaching. Even people that hold some leverage in trades will want to know who's coaching the team. So it's a chaotic dumpster fire, really, as far as I'm concerned.
So with that in mind, what is the Lakers' plan in the offseason? We'll start with the coach. And of course, here to discuss that, a guy who is called JJ Redick, a young Pat Riley, a young Phil Jackson,
and a young Steve Kerr.
Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and just go young Red Auerbach? Don't just go on down the line with all the great coaches.
Well, we were limiting it to guys who had no coaching experience before they got the job. I mean,
it is Laker Tom from Lakerholics.com, the opinionated one at that. Please follow at Laker Tom on Twitter as well, along with his great articles. And before we get into any trade scenarios, which you are most known for, your opinions on JJ Redick have already been out there. We've already actually described them on this program already on this channel. And you seem to be already fond of JJ Redick. Seems to stand out because, like you, he is probably right now the betting favorite in the clubhouse to get the position.
I think it's his job to lose, basically.
Yeah.
But I think from the same token, I think pretty much the Lakers see the same thing that I see him, that a lot of people do see in him. It's a risky situation, but it's not an unprecedented situation. The Warriors in 2014 hired Steve Kerr. Now, Kerr had some back office experience, working with the Suns. So he wasn't a total neophyte, but he really hadn't been an assistant coach or head coach. And then the Brooklyn Nets followed in 2020, hiring Steve Nash. It's an interesting contrast because on the one hand, you could say that JJ Redick's ceiling is Steve Kerr. And the other side of that coin is that his floor could very well be Steve Nash. We'll have to wait and see, but I think that the Lakers are pretty much going to want to get a coach who can, and I think a lot of this goes into the constant failure to get somebody after Phil Jackson who can last more than 2 or 3 years. And they really want to get into a stable situation like the Warriors have with Kerr or the Heat has with Sproul. So they're looking at JJ Redick as a guy who can fill that role. They understand that they made a mistake with Ham and not having an experienced, former head coach there to help him out, to make it easier. But basically the reasons that Ham failed weren't because of being a first-year rookie coach. They really were because he just made bad judgments on who should start and who should substitute and so forth.
So you're saying that, and Michael, I don't know if you want to chime in on this. You're saying that, yet they are interviewing assistant coaches, including Quinn out of Miami. I mean, they're going to Alman. They're going to Mika Noy.
That makes sense because one of the things, first, they're trying to do things differently than they did before because obviously it hasn't worked the last few times. Okay. So they are involving Coach K. They're saying that, and even though they're in love with the idea of JJ Redick, they realize that they need to do their due diligence. You can't go and hire Redick without having taken hard looks at like the lead assistants for the Nuggets and some of the other teams. I mean, Adelman's son definitely should be consideration as a candidate head coach. There's a lot of good assistants out there. My big thing with Redick is I've listened to the other assistants and so forth, and they don't have the sort of raw basketball intelligence that exudes from JJ Redick or the sort of star power that made him the lead guy at ESPN taking over. So I think that the Lakers want to get somebody who's really good, but they also want to go through their due diligence. And I also think, too, in the back of their mind, it's not impossible that they're looking at some of these guys as possible candidates to be on a staff with Reddick. They're not going to get Adelman to leave his situation in Denver, I don't think, or but there's a reason why I'm not the only one who says that they really like JJ Redick and can see a future Steve Kerr in him. All of his makeup is there. He has the competitiveness. Unlike Steve Nash, Nash is like Magic Johnson. You can't, when you're a superstar, it's really hard to come out and coach regular players. And he obviously lost his relationship with Kevin, with all three of the superstars that he had during his tenure in Brooklyn. So that says something about his ability to manage people, and he has no interest anymore in doing any coaching. So it was obviously a fish out of water, and he didn't fit. I think that Redick is a much better fit. Now, as to what is the Lakers' game plan, Michael makes a great point, because I think the Lakers were smart to include Darvin Ham last year in all of the judgments of personnel, and he definitely was an influence. Whether it was a good influence or not, we can debate that all day, but you definitely have to have the coaching staff and the front office on the same page. Otherwise, you're just asking for disaster. So what is JJ? That's the big question. And that's one of the things that'll come out in the interviews, because the Lakers want a coach who can get along with LeBron James, but they've come out and said that they want somebody who's going to prioritize what we're going to do with Anthony Davis going forward and how that works.
To be fair with JJ, he does have the media savvy that you need for the Los Angeles Laker job. I mean,
it's not an easy. You're right there. It's not an easy.
Yeah, he's not going to say that. What do you do when a player's pooping the bed for a stretch? Or he's not going to say shit like that. So I mean, you got to. He's media savvy. He's going to say the right things. He's going to. He's going to have that element that Riley had and Phil had. It's just going to. Honestly, there's not a candidate that we're looking at right now that we're going to know for sure until they take the seat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in favor of any particular guy. As a matter of fact, I wish there was more options available than there are right now. But
I'm with you, Michael.
That's one of the problems always when you have a coaching vacancy. You fire somebody when you have to fire them, not based upon usually who's available.
Yeah,
and so it's potluck. We're actually lucky that we've got a candidate like. I actually think we're lucky that we got candidates like Adelman and like JJ available, because if you want somebody who comes from a pedigree of thinking outside of the box and being an offensive guru, Adelman is a guy. He's proven he can do it. He's proven that he can win a championship, and he's shown that what he hasn't shown is that he can be the head coach.
Now, one thing, if they do go with JJ, they have to hire an experienced lead assistant and pay him a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
To get the best possible person that you can to be that lead assistant, because he's going to need it. He's going to need somebody to lean on there. And so, if it takes a unheard of amount of money for a lead assistant to get somebody, they need to spend the money to get the best possible guy they can to fill that chair.
And they've been cheap in the past. They have. I did read a report that they say that they're willing, and this was before Bud was hired, that they were willing to pay, the $10 million a year it takes for a top coach nowadays.
Well, we'd have Ty Lue right now if it wasn't for the money.
There's no doubt about that. It's just, You know,
that's when they messed. That was their big mess.
Well, you know, that became a start of. You're thinking of Ty Lue, and what they did wrong there was they're thinking of Ty Lue just as LeBron's coach, and so they were thinking back then that LeBron would be gone by now. You know, and so that's why they cheaped him not on a salary, they cheaped him on the years. They weren't willing to give him they weren't willing to give him a post LeBron type of contract, which was stupid.
Yeah.
You know, you watch what he's done with the Clippers through the year, and you can't blame him for the fact that the superstars they invested in just can't seem to make it to the playoffs. But they've done a terrific job of building a very deep team there, you know, and
well, that's
they have a big bankroll to spend, so it makes a big difference.
The basketball gods' curse. Clippers should have never been in LA, and the basketball gods will continue
to get clipped.
That will continue to punish.
I know you get a new stadium next year, and
they'll continue to be punished. I mean, it goes back to, you know, Chris Paul and all of those guys.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how good the team is. The stars will never be healthy.
San Diego.
The stars.
Nothing against San Diego for all of our San Diego fans, but
I don't appreciate the way JJ has said the things he said about previous generations. I was trying to type it in the chat. My apologies, but I don't appreciate the things that he has said about previous generations.
Well, what about what he said about AD? He left AD out of the top 20 defenders in the league.
So
you know, so it'll be interesting to see how that gets handled.
He walks that back. Yeah. Oh, hi AD. What's up? How you doing?
No, but it's like I said the other day.
Awkward.
You know, when you're very opinionated and you open your mouth all the time, you're gonna say some things. I know myself. You're gonna say some things that you wish you hadn't said. JJ handles that well, though, and I think Michael's point about managing the media, managing expectations, communicating with the media, as well as communicating with your players and getting them to buy in. I think that, you know, it's hard when you come into a team, especially with superstars. I mean, imagine how tough a job Steve Nash had. He's got Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. Now, if there are three guys in the league who've asked to be traded, you know, more times than those three, I don't know who else you put on the list, because these are the three guys who are probably the most difficult superstars to manage. And you got three of them on the same team at various times. You know, one good thing with JJ is the relationship with LeBron. He has to be able to sell AD on it, because if AD wants him as a coach, frankly, to be honest, whoever AD wants as the coach probably should be who the Lakers hire. Assuming that AD, you know, has valid, reasonable reasons for wanting that particular coach. I don't know, you know, what are the Lakers going to do for this offseason? I think I see two choices. I see going for a third star, which they're going to do, which is obviously going to be Mitchell at the start. If they don't get Mitchell, then I think they really should go for three new starters, you know, really try to fill these holes. We need a defensive wing. We need a point of attack guard. We need a backup center very badly. Everybody seems to value the 29 and 31 first round picks. They're probably going to have to be unprotected to really be valuable for another team. And nobody seems to think much of the value of this year's number 17 pick. I kind of like the idea. I mean, I was just looking at a consensus of the various people that had picked. And when you get down to number 17, there are like, within that range of, let's say, 15 to 20, there are like 4 7-foot centers who would be great backup centers for us, you know, including Edey, including Filipowski. I just watched some video of him. He's really an excellent three-point shooter and a pop and pick guy that could just cause havoc for other teams. So, you know, I think the Lakers' plan is first to try to get that superstar, and he, you know, it'd be great if we could get Donovan Mitchell. I think he would be ideal. What I like most about him is he only makes $35 million, not $40 million. $43 million that Trey makes. So you got $8 million there that you can use on another player.
No Trey Young. No Trey Young.
No Trey Young. That $43 million of Trey Young just screws you completely.
Well, not only that, I mean, they cannot continue to trade for ball dominant point guards as long as they have LeBron on the team. LeBron is going to play like LeBron until he hangs it up. And they keep trying to, it was Dennis, then it was Westbrook. The one thing about Russell was he's got the ability to play off the ball. Yeah. Trey Young does not. Trey Young needs the ball in his hand to be effective. And so, I mean, Mitchell can play off the ball. He's shown that, he can play off the ball. I mean, he's played with Mike Conley. He's played now with Cleveland with Garland. So, yeah, he can play off the ball, but no ball dominant guards, please.
The guy I think fits best for us still is DeJounte Murray. He's only making $25 million, man, and that would give us so much extra room to build around him.
Why didn't they pull the trigger on the trade or come to an agreement on a trade during the trade deadline when he was the major name?
Yeah, we didn't want to give up 2 picks. We didn't want to give up that pick. That was the whole reason. We wanted to save that pick so we could offer 3 picks.
3 picks for who?
3 picks for Donovan Mitchell. What do you think?
Do you think?
Thank God it's not for Trey Young, man.
Well, Donovan Mitchell, I'm not saying I would disagree with you, but I just don't think what the Lakers have is going to be enough for what Donovan Mitchell is worth.
Well, there's a couple of factors in there that help the Lakers. Number one, the Knicks aren't going to probably be bidding for him because it's not going to work playing him next to the guys that they got now. They have a new superstar on their team as far as anybody else is concerned, so they're not going to mess with that. And then that means that who else do you have? I mean, when you look at the other competition, it's really possibly the Heat, but almost everybody they're talking about is an Eastern Conference team. The last thing the Cavs want to do is to send Donovan Mitchell to a team in the same division or conference as they are. And then what it really comes down to, since he'll be on an expiring contract, is that it's really, he's got to be able to see somebody says he's going to re-sign somewhere, or else it's very difficult to trade those kind of guys. Who's going to give up a couple of picks unprotected for a guy who could become a free agent? You have to have a handshake deal with him that he's going to re-sign with you, or you don't expend that draft capital to get him. So if you lose him, I hope we don't go to Trey. I hope we go to let's get 3 starters. Let's go out and get, let's go out and fill this need. We need a wing. We need a defensive wing. We need a defensive guard. We need
we have a defensive wing. Unfortunately, he couldn't play much last year.
Yeah, but
I mean,
what about the previous year? How did he do the previous year?
He did really well. He did well. And
until the playoffs.
If you recall also, when he came back finally this year,
he was playing the best he's ever played when he came back.
He was incredible.
He was great. He was having an impact at both ends of the court.
Yeah. So I mean,
I put the wing as the third. I put having a point of attack at backup center probably first in my mind, and a point of attack guard second, and then a wing third, because I do think that Bando can be that guy. If he could stay healthy, damn it, man.
That was about
every one of our players. Like Christian Wood, if he could stay healthy, he would have been such a help in the playoffs.
I'm just going to say this now. The Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt contracts are going to be contracts that are underwhelming, and that will more dictate the need for the ultimate thing that the Lakers have to do, and is change the GM. Rob Pelinka needs to go. He needed to go a long time ago. Mistake after mistake after mistake. And you talk about Jared Vanderbilt. Jared Vanderbilt was signed already with foot problems when he signed on the dotted line. He was already having issues, yet you signed him to 4-year extension, which hasn't even kicked in. It will kick in this next season. Yeah, you could say it's trade fodder. It's $11 million a year. It's not that bad. Then you combine that with the Gabe Vincent contract, which is also proven to be a lousy contract for the Lakers. And that's another 2 years that we have to deal with it. And that's 12 million. So that's 23 million of, I'm going to say right now, essentially dead money on the books because both have not contributed very much at all. And Vanderbilt is such an enigma on offense, such a problem. It's like playing 4-on-5 because he is so bad on offense. Unless you find him in the dunker spot, he is just so bad on that side of the ball.
But all of these, but the problem is that now you're getting into fantasy football, fantasy basketball, and because the Lakers, it's like, why don't we talk about Jeannie Buss selling the team to somebody who's a billionaire so he can spend money like the Nets and the.
Well, you're asking where the main problems are at as far as.
I know. So okay, let me tie into that because I do think there is a possible solution to that.
Well, it's Tim Conley.
Well, we're not going to get Tim Conley. He's not. We're not going to get.
He has an out after the season. He does, right?
Yeah, but you know what you're going to have to do if you want to have that happen? You're going to have to wish for this year to fall apart completely. I can't do that. That's why I think it's just
no. He has an out after this season. So
no. Here's the solution. The solution really is the Lakers do need a visionary in the management of the team, and that visionary, in my mind, could be JJ Redick because he's a guy who's going to have a bigger and bigger impact. And you need somebody who is a forward thinker. Not only, he's also only 39 years old. He's going. You look at the coaches and look at how the league is changing. We're going into a whole new generation of younger players, and they aren't like the old time younger players. This is a whole different thing. These are guys that made a lot of money in college simply because of the new rules, and they're a whole different. It's a whole different generation that I think you need somebody like Redick rather than somebody who's been around for 20 years coaching and so forth. But the main thing is that we need somebody in the decision-making situation on this team that has a vision, okay, that can go in there because Jeannie Buss doesn't have a vision for the Lakers, not really. And Rob Pelinka's vision of the Lakers, I can't even see. I don't even understand what his vision of the Lakers is. It's LeBron James and what can you do around it and a bunch of stupid decisions that they've made that I agree with you. He should be fired. He should never have gone this long. He was a perfect example of a guy who was hired to a job he never had any experience doing, although he had a related situation being an agent. But we need a visionary. That's what they're going after. They want somebody. I mean, a lot of the personnel decisions when Riley was head coach and when Jackson were head coach were made by them. They had big voices and they were the faces of the franchise. We need somebody in that role or we will not succeed long term. That's my counter to your thing about Rob Pelinka, that we're not going to be able to replace Pelinka, but if we can put somebody in as coach for the next 10 or 12 years who has a vision and who has a direction and who will establish us as a modern team in the NBA doing modern things and get them to spend the money that they have to. I mean, spending the money is all related to the investment. I mean, the money, the value that the Golden State Warriors increased of the franchise that they got as a result of winning those championships, even though they spent all this money, they came out way ahead. The Lakers need to have some vision in the back office and the front office financially to see that the only reason we're here today is because of the championships we won before. And you need to invest in that by doing whatever you need to do, even if it means paying luxury taxes.
I'll just say this. Again, the Lakers couldn't even manage the money right, Michael. And I'm going to bring Michael back into this conversation. Again, it is Lakerholics Spotlight. Please, if you like what Laker Tom and Michael and even Admiral Akbar, Jamie Sweet like to say, please stop by Lakerholics.com. They do a lot of great things there, great opinions, great articles. They take the time for you as Lakers fans. So please stop by Lakerholics.com today. But Michael, let me get this back in there with what has been said and done in regards to who should oversee this operation. I'm just going to say this, Michael. There is no better time right now to go ahead and step into the role of GM for the Los Angeles Lakers, because you don't have a coach. You have 3 first-round draft picks, and you have not made a commitment financially yet to LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell. So let's say a Tim Connolly or your Bob Myers or whatever GM becomes available. You have a somewhat open slate, which could be desirable to a GM, if the job were available. But we know Jeannie likes Rob, the tie-ins with Kobe, all that. I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm just saying a what-if scenario that the time would be now for a GM to step in and at least be able to shape the team in his own image.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, but like you said, Jeannie's not going to let Rob go.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I wish, who I wish had more power, more say in the organization, because I think he has a basketball mind, as Jesse Buss. I think Jesse Buss would get rid of Rob if he had the ability to do so. The guy has made a lot of really, what he's done with the scouting department has just been amazing. And but there isn't that basketball voice. It is Jeannie's vision is her dad's vision, which cannot work in today's NBA. And so she keeps swinging for the fences because that's what her dad would have done, she thinks. But the financial constraints now don't allow you to just load up on talent, like you could back in her father's day. So I don't know. It's going to be, maybe we'll just luck out and some good things will happen this year.
Well,
that's what we're depending on. Maybe we'll luck out. Oh my gosh.
At some point, Jeannie is likely to turn over management of the Lakers, the governorship, over to Jesse. I think it would be the logical person.
She needs to sell the team, but she won't do that.
Yeah,
right?
well,
no, she will never sell a team.
Gerald, would you sell a team?
If somebody offered me 10 to 12
We
billion
think we're Laker fans. We think we're Laker fans. Can you imagine what Jeannie Buss thinks about the Lakers and selling a team?
10 to 12 billion dollars might at least raise an eyebrow.
I think that the brothers might have voted for selling it, but Jeannie's not going to sell it.
I know it's a commitment to her dad and all that. And
Yeah.
people talk about, this is the only income that they have. Are you really sure that it's the only income that they have? Remember,
you got to take that $20 million a year each of them gets and figure out what they invested that
in. And then dividends but don't we all know that Dad was a premier real estate investor? Do you not think that they have other things going on? Do you not think that they have other things in the fire, Michael and Tom? I mean,
but it's a lot harder to get 6 people to agree.
I understand, and I get that.
It affects their direct income.
But if somebody comes in there, let's say the Guggenheims of the Dodgers, Michael, and offers them $12 billion, this would make them think about it, Michael.
Oh yeah, everybody but Jeannie.
Yeah.
And she's the one that matters.
Yeah, and that's true.
Well, but the 6 of them all have even shares, so it'd be 5 against 1.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how it works, but I got a feeling she has the last say on something like that.
I'd have to.
Well, I think she's got a couple of the kids, the sister, and there was like a 4-2 situation against the. But then there's the 3 brothers. There's 3 brothers, and there's Jeannie and 1 sister. So who's the 6th kid?
It's that.
It's the one that was not with the same wife. Because he had it. He had a kid with a different woman.
And that was a guy. So that one is. So they're in a 3-3 tie, basically.
Yeah.
There's two. There's the
Again,
three
I
brothers.
don't
Probably, even although maybe Jesse and the
I
other.
don't expect it to happen, but yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's just say again, I think at some point in time,
Well, I'd hire Bob Myers, man. Look what he did for the Warriors. Jesus.
Well, Bob Myers is out there. Tim Connolly. We talk about the coaching dearth of coaching candidates. At GM candidates, if Tim Connolly opts out of his contract and becomes a free agent,
Yeah, he'd be great.
he would be great. And I'll just because he has the track record. And
Well,
Bob Myers
it's
has
funny
the track
too
record.
because I haven't heard anything lately on what's happening with that suit between the owners.
Well, the only thing you see is
Hiring Conway
Alex
was the biggest move
Rodriguez
that they made,
in
and
the
Alex
suit.
Rodriguez was responsible for that.
Yeah, you see Alex Rodriguez in the suit, and you see the other owner, the actual owner right now, currently owner. You see him on the opposite. I love how the camera just like goes one and then goes the other. It's because Alex Rodriguez and his partner, they had to show a business plan before they were given ownership of it. They had to show a business plan, and their business plan asked to reduce costs. And where was the first place that you would reduce costs, Michael? On the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Carl Anthony Towns.
I would probably, I mean, Carl Anthony Towns would probably be my pick as far as salary reduction, simply because they played extremely well with Reed and
I always wanted Nance Reed.
But that's what started this disagreement among the transaction. Was the fact
what started it was the success of the team.
Yes, well, that's what I'm
moves.
leading into, Tom. Yes, the business plan on getting rid of some salary overhead, and your team is having the best success that it's had in 20 years. Yeah, the timing is just not good.
Well, trying to renege on the deal, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So if that happens, but if Tim Connolly doesn't like it, he does have an opt-out after this season, but we'll see how that goes. But again, we're talking about the Lakers. And before we head on out, I got to go ahead and ask you guys your thoughts on the draft combine this week. Michael, I'll start with you. Isn't it amazing? And this makes, I could see Joe Soro. He squirms in his chair whenever I talk about the subject. And that's why Sean and I bring it up more. And that is Bronny James. Because this week, Bronny James participated in the NBA draft combine. And we'll talk about some prospects as well. I had a chance to talk with Stone Hansen, our draft expert, and he was on Thursday to talk about it. But Bronny James happened to go ahead and perform at the NBA draft combine. His measurements didn't come out quite as how he hoped. It's a little shorter than what you would like. His vertical jump is about 40.5 inches. Pretty good there. Speed, agility, his shooting when you're shooting against nobody was pretty good, but then he went out in the 5-on-5 and kind of struggled for both days as expected. But somehow, Michael and Tom.
Wait, he was player of the game for the second one.
Yeah, but
23 points.
No, 13 points. Tom.
13 points.
Yeah, 4 of 10 shooting. Yeah, not overwhelming. But I will say this. Again, amazing how the media just loves going down and talking about this, about the Bronny James factor. Somehow
nobody else played.
Yeah, nobody else in the combine was there except for Bronny James. Because ESPN, that was wall-to-wall coverage of
Man,
Bronny
that's why
James.
he doesn't want to be on the same team as his dad, man.
And Jonathan Givony, immediately on his ESPN 100 prospects, moves Bronny from 98 to 54. Now, remind me again, Michael, about who or what pick the Lakers have in the second round. I think it's number
55, actually.
That's correct. And he happens to be number 54 on their list as far as top 100 prospects. Imagine that. So I ask you, Michael, you've seen a little bit of Bronny James, I imagine, by now. I saw him, his games at USC. I saw his workout and his combines a little bit, saw the action there. He is not an NBA-ready player. I'm just going to put that out there. You cannot convince me of it. He's just not there yet, and he may never be because of the certain height issues that he has because he does not play a point guard position. Your thoughts on the Bronny James experience and, like you said, how it took over the draft combine?
Well, honestly, I agree with you. He's not ready this year for sure. He kind of, the whole health thing he had really set him back as far as conditioning and being ready for the college season. He kind of had to have his pre-camp during the season itself. There's two ways to look at it, and if he really wanted to raise his draft stock, he should play another year. But to your point, if he may not be an NBA player, he might be better hitting the draft this year.
Yeah.
Because another year of college, and that could either raise him up or it could knock him completely out of the draft. So I agree. I don't think he's ready, and he really would need to at that size. If you're going to be 6'1.5", 6'2", something like that,
he's 6'1",
and an off guard, no less. He's not even a point guard.
Yeah.
You gotta be a sniper from three. I mean, you have to really be able to hit your shots. You have to be a bulldog on defense. It's hard when you're that short to guard backcourt, big back. It has been done. I mean, Avery Bradley was a bulldog at 6 feet, so it can be done. But man, he hasn't shown any of the things that, if you're going to be 6'2", shooting guard in the NBA, he hasn't really displayed the kind of talent you need to pull that off.
So, Laker Tom, I noticed already on one of your tweets that at Laker Tom on Twitter, please follow him today. I already noticed that you have him already slotted in to having a slot there. I don't know, it was on a 2-way or a second round draft choice, but dare I say it, we already may lose Joe if he does get drafted. The possibility is there. However much I do not want this to happen and actually get talented individuals instead of Bronny James, the reality is there. If he stays in the draft, Laker Tom, he may become a Los Angeles Laker.
Well, I've said from the very beginning that I thought the worst thing in the world for Bronny James would be to go to the same team as his father. I mean, that, first off, it undermines why the hell you even drafted the kid, and that's the last thing you want to have people do, they'd be calling him, So yet I will say this. I look at here's the other possibility of what's happened. You have a kid who's got great genes, and some of that athleticism and so forth you saw in the 40-inch leap, and also too just a guy who understands what kind of player he could be, the comparing himself to Drew Holiday and players like that are basically two-way players that play the game smart, that are savvy, that hustle all the time. He's a kid who maybe got knocked down with this cardiac arrest situation, so that he really never got a chance to show what he could do in college. And he gets to the combine, and everybody has really just dumped on him because of how poor he played. What he averaged, 3 points a game or something like that. 5 points a game. And he's being talked about, and a lot of it is just because of his name. I mean, I thought the telling thing was when somebody asked him, "You're going to name your son LeBron James III?" And he says, "No way, man." So I don't want the Lakers to draft him, but on the other hand, I do think that he could be an NBA quality player, just simply because of his father, and simply because he knows how to play the game right. And he does have athleticism. He is LeBron James' son. So, he may never be a starter in the league. That's very, very possible. But I think that he could carve himself a rotation role on a team that is looking for a savvy guy who plays real well. He could be a guard, a Josh Hart type of guy. And there's room for those guys in the league, guys who are really, really basketball smart and do the right thing all the time and chip in all of those little things that just don't show up in the scoreboard. Any rate, I happen to think that this improvement in everything that we've seen in his shooting and his athleticism in the combine are signs of a player just emerging from having had a major surgery and injury and so forth. So I'm hoping that, he gets drafted earlier than that by somebody else than the Lakers, and that he has a great career. And I like the way that he's handled it by saying that, I don't want to be drafted by the same team as my father. And I like that LeBron is saying the same thing, that there's no priority now for the Lakers to draft his son so he can play with him. But, hey, man, I understand that one of the greatest things in my life has been being able to play basketball both with my son and my grandson. And that's, I can understand why LeBron would really want to do that. Just from going down to the corner basketball court and playing with my son was some of the best moments that I ever had in my life on the court.
I'm just going to say this. I think people should be aware of Indiana because they're a playoff team already, and they have 3 second-round picks, whether they want to burn one on Bronny James or sell one of those picks to the Lakers in order to do so. I understand they have 55, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It all depends on what flows on draft night. But, Michael, if they take a draft pick on Bronny James, what does that say to you as a Lakers fan? I know what it says to me, but it's a whole bunch of expletives after it, and I don't want to.
It's the Jimmy Bus, Kobe Bryant superstar plan.
At this point, I would be very disappointed in the team if they took him just because he's LeBron's son.
Unless they thought he was a great pick at 55, man.
That was what I was going to say. I do trust the scouting department, but
even with the JHS and Maxwell Lewis signings,
what's that?
Even with JHS and Maxwell Lewis, who have both been draft busts so far.
Well, the thing about Shapino, he got hurt early in the year through the first third of the season, and he was injured for the second third of the season. I watched him in the G League, and he looked pretty good when he had his little window of health. He was scoring close to 20 points a game. I know it's the G League, but he was looking pretty good in the G League. I don't know what's going on with Maxwell. I mean, they missed on him for sure. I think Hood Shapino might have some redeeming qualities if he can be actually healthy and actually be able to play. I mean, he was really handicapped by injuries throughout the season.
But he was bad in Summer League as well.
Well, he was bad in Summer League, but so were a lot of guys who were bad in Summer League.
True.
I mean, Max Christie was bad his first Summer League, and he was great.
It wasn't a good draft for us this time. I agree with Mike.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like there's a couple of guys, of course, I would have liked to have seen them take that was available, and I was really surprised with Hood Shapino because if you got a team that is in win now mode, there were guys with more experience that were available that could have helped more. What's his name from UCLA comes to mind immediately. Yeah. He was a 4-year starter, UCLA, and he fit just seamlessly into because he
Cam Whitmore, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Brandon Podziemski, Trace Jackson Davis, Ben Shepherd, who's playing in the playoffs right now. Need I go on?
Yeah.
Cam Whitmore,
I understand. I understand them passing on Cam Whitmore because of his injury history. He was a lottery pick. He was a top 10 pick, and everybody passed him over because he had some really significant injury questions. But everybody else on your list, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there was a bunch of guys that we could have gotten and didn't, and then it shows you how deep that draft was. I'm kind of wondering. I don't know if you guys know or not what the depth. I know this is supposed to be a really terrible draft, especially at the top. How about the depth after your lottery? Is it terrible as well, or is it kind of like?
Well, if you're looking for a center at 17, there are
several
four
centers.
guys within that range that are all.
Well, the reason why this is such a bad draft, and I've talked to Stone both on and off the air. Stone Hansen, our resident draft.
Who's Stone have us taking, or who does he like?
Well, he has different individuals than what most people talk about. He wants the best player available, and I'll go up and bring his requests here in a little bit. He's got a lot of tweets I got to go through in order to get it, but let's see if I can go have to do that. But yeah, he sees things a little bit differently than most of the draft experts out there. He is like Tyson Carter. He is at that spot if they're available. I know that he wouldn't be too upset if Filipowski would be there. He has said okay things about him. I think
like Filipowski.
Edie would, I think, it's too much of a reach. Again, this is a guy that barely was in the top 60 in last year's draft before he pulled out. And this year, we're coming into, he was in the 40s. And he has moved all up. And he has improved. And he did have a decent combine. He
can shoot his free throws, and he has some range.
But
it's very slow developing shot. But when you're 7'4", you know,
at 17, it's so far of a climb from where he was.
Yeah, but we're talking backup center, man.
Yeah,
talking backup center, though, something the Lakers desperately need. I would take either one of those two guys if they were available at 17, because I think that throwing a 17 pick in with the other two picks, I'd make the other two picks unprotected so that they're the real focus of it, and I'd use that 17 to get a center. Get a young center.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Tom. That is the priority. But as far as Eddie is concerned, I would like the center that we draft. If we did draft one of these guys, I would like them to be able to share the court with AD a little bit from time to time. And I can't see those two playing together.
We need a model. You can't. AD basically. If you're going to put a defensive center next to him, he's going to have to shoot the three ball. And I don't know if I want him to do that.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be my biggest thing with him. I don't think he would fit if we needed to play the two together from time to time.
Although against somebody like Jokic, I'd like 7'4", 300 pounds, keeping him away from the basket.
Yeah, that's true. But
and then AD hovering as the help blocker.
Yeah, but then we have no spacing at all because
here's a big question for the team, and I think this is one of the big philosophical questions the Lakers have to answer, especially considering where the league is going right now, which is, are we going to be a two bigs team or not? Now, two bigs creates a problem because it means James has got to play the three,
which is a big problem these days.
It's a big problem. But the other side of it is, look at the teams that are dominating now. They're two big teams. They're teams that, in the case of Timberwolves, it's three bigs.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, Denver didn't dominate.
And all of these, you got all of these 7'4", 7'3" guys coming into the league. It's getting bigger, longer, and more athletic.
But Tom, I don't. They beat us 4-1. I didn't see them dominating us.
No.
I see a little tweak here or there that we would have been right there.
Yeah, so it's Jamal Murray's ability to elevate himself in the playoffs, man.
We don't have to. I don't think we really have to match what they're doing. What just popped up here?
Tom asked what Stone was looking at. It took me a second to bring it up, but his dream is Ron Holland or Isaiah Collier, who will probably go somewhere between 8 to 13 is what people are looking at. Both of these guys were at one time the top prospect in the draft. So I think if you get one of those players, you've got a score mentality with both of them. And I like that. More realistic, Deron Holmes or Jalen Tayson. Anyone else? He said, yeah, trade the pick. It's what he has right there. So Dayron Holmes and Jalen Tyson, more wings oriented, more forward oriented. Not
Who do you
necessarily.
like? Who do you like as a center prospect for us going forward? You two guys.
I
Who
think
are we going to get to be that backup center, or a second big to start with? AD.
I think you should not sleep on Khalil Ware. I think he's very athletic. Adam Bona, his name has been mentioned.
I like Adam. Adam Bona, if he can stay healthy, is really athletic.
Yeah, Michael.
Well, as far as drafting a center,
or trading for one,
or bringing one in free agency. I mean, you know who's going to be?
We're probably going to not. Definitely, if we go out and get Donovan Mitchell, we are going over the first apron and hovering up underneath the second apron.
Yeah, but look at some of the guys that we could possibly get, even on the minimum, maybe.
Yeah, but it's only $5 million if we go over the second apron. We only get the $5 million.
But I don't think that's going to happen. So, but I like a guy like Xavier Tillman is coming up for free
Tillman would be great.
And
undersized, but fights like
Boston can't spend any more money on him the weekend, basically. Right. You know, so I would look there. You know, as far as the big trades and everything are concerned, since AD's trade, when once Boston decided they're not going to put Tatum in the trade for AD. Everybody knew that AD was going to be a Laker after that. But since then, not one of these stars that the Lakers should be, are going after has ended up with the Lakers.
Well, we've only had one pick up until now.
No, but what I'm talking about, well, we've had rumor after rumor, year after year after this guy, that guy. It never really happens. What I think, I may be crazy, I think there'll be trades. And I think it'll be somebody we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen.
Well, I think the problem was, Michael, and let me just interject here real quick. I think the first problem is that does this team have a plan going forward? And a lot of it is in Rob's office. And everybody talks about, how Jeannie's so cheap and Jeannie's so cheap. If Jeannie is so cheap, she would have told and instructed and demanded Rob make that $3 to $4 million trade at the trade deadline to get enough money off the books to put herself and the team under the tax, so that she. I don't understand. Hold on. So that she could have collected the money that they get for the owners that go under the tax that they get every season, which I think is around $13-14 million. What it'll be at the end of the season. So she would have gotten a fat payday.
We would have made $15 million for us.
Yeah. Just by making one trade of a Christian Wood or Jackson Hayes or just one trade.
They didn't want to give up those guys.
Yeah. So saying she's cheap.
Well, but we also heard that they were willing to pay for Bud. They were willing to pay $10 million a year for Bud.
Yes. I just want to.
I think that there's some. Let's give them at least some credit that while they've screwed up, at least maybe without publicly admitting it, but through the actions that they're taking and changes in what they're doing. Like I think involving Coach K again for this coaching search and the way that they've set it up, I think it makes sense. They haven't interviewed JJ yet. He's going to be the last one to interview, but they're interviewing all of these other guys and they're giving them second interviews if they like them.
But it's always like one hand doesn't always talk to the other when it concerns the team, and it really bothers me.
Well, right now, this one hand happens to be Rob Pelinka, who's running everything at this point in time, and obviously I'd like it to be Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick together running it, because I think you get a better balance when you've got at least two people making the decision, especially when those two people have to be on the same page all the time if you're going to be successful.
It's disappointing.
What really irritates me is that we constantly underestimate the value of a backup center. of having a second big out there that we can put out there.
Well, Avad says, I mean, I know the D'Lo question, that was one of our biggest episodes the past couple of weeks, is the D'Lo question, Michael, whether or not we should re-sign him or not. I understand it as far as from a salary cap, from a financial standpoint, having the asset management like Joe has talked about on the show, asset management 101, try to sign the asset, but that's not all of our own capabilities. We don't have the full control of this. D'Lo has full control of the situation, Michael, going forward. So what will happen as far as the Lakers and D'Angelo Russell?
Well, personally, I think they have to sign him, whether it is for a future trade chip or just to play, because I believe if he just walked, that might open up the full MLE for us.
Right, 13 million.
But who are we going to sign at 13 million
right.
at the point guard? There isn't any good candidates that is going to come that cheap. So I think you sign him, and then now you have an asset, whether it's at a sign and trade or whether it's at the trade deadline. You can't just let somebody that can be valuable just walk away when you don't have a viable plan to replace the production that they bring to the table.
Can't let them do that again is really what we were saying.
Yeah.
We've done it so many times with different players. I agree 100% with Michael. You got to sign him. He'll have, for example, people talking about spending $40 million a year on Darius Garland. He's got the same exact stats almost that D'Lo has for maybe 22 or 23 million.
Yeah. No. If there was somebody if that would open up enough cap space to get a top tier point guard, then it'd be different. Yeah. Okay. Let him walk, but it doesn't open up enough cap space for that.
But what we can guarantee him, 20, let's say we guarantee him 22 million a year for 3 years with a player option. Either we'll give you that contract or we'll sign and trade you to somebody for that or more. I think
we also have to wait. Now, I know this is against the league rules, and I'm sure
we never do it.
That never stopped anybody.
Yeah, I'm sure that D'Lo's reps aren't making calls around the league to gauge interest. I'm sure they're not doing that because that is against the rules. But there's a chance he might opt in.
That would be great.
That's a real possibility because I've been reading some stuff, and there's only a couple of teams that are with the cap space.
Orlando
to take him that may be interested in him.
Yeah.
So he could very well opt in. We'll see.
I'd love him to opt in, and we could trade him to Orlando, who desperately needs 3-point shooting.
Well, that's another thing. If we're going to go after a star, without depleting our entire roster, we need D'Lo and a salary.
Yeah.
If let's say he walks,
you let him walk, you can hardly
go after Mitchell, or somebody, big name. That really kills our depth. So we need him for a big trade. We really do.
Avant Traders says, well, Orlando and the Spurs, who I've mentioned already, really only teams with cap space that can sign D'Lo. But conveniently, what do both of those teams need? A good shooting point guard that can distribute the ball. I wonder who is available. What a coinky dink. D'Angelo Russell can opt out of his contract and become a free agent.
But both of those teams are also interested in guys like
Trae Young. So yes, of course. But
they may want a bigger ticket, in which case the sign and trade would be the route.
But if plan A for them, D'Angelo Russell's not a plan A. I get that.
Plan B for them. You're right there.
Yeah. Hold on. If he's not a plan A, Michael and Tom, for those guys, for those teams. But he is a plan B or a plan C, Michael and Tom.
But he's a plan B for the Lakers too, though, because you can't.
Well, they've shown where you can only go so far with D'Angelo Russell as your starting person.
It wasn't just D'Angelo Russell who did not support LeBron James and Anthony Davis in these playoffs. It was
Well, as your
every one
number
of those
three,
guys
I should
on the
say,
team.
as your number 3 guy. D'Angelo Russell is your number 3 guy. Can only
And Austin Reed's also your number 4 guy. Failed the team. Had a terrible series.
well, he I think is best as your number 6 guy off the bench.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. We have 2 guys that making $45-50 million, and the next guy up is like 17 million, or D'Lo actually 18 million. We don't have any of these guys that are making 25 to 35 million, and we need a couple of them. We need a Dejounte Murray or a Donovan Mitchell, that can. We just have this huge gap after our superstars. Same thing in age. All of our people after the 2 superstars are under 30. It's like we don't have any of these guys that are 31 to 34. It's other than AD at 30.
The thing is, Tom and Mike, let me ask you this. I mean, I think Rui and Austin, yes, I know they're probably the most attractive trade pieces in your trades, Tom.
Well, they don't have player options.
But I want to ask you guys, are they best suited as starters, Michael, or are they best suited both of them off the bench? Because I am personally under the belief that I think Rui, yes, I understand the starting lineup. I understand as far as the record, Rui, when he came in there about how much, but if let's say this team had enough talent around it, I think Rui and Austin coming off the bench is much more advantageous to the long-term future of the Los Angeles Lakers. But I'm not sure that will ever happen.
Well, the problem with that is that we don't get those other players without using them as trade bait.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, based upon the roster that we have right now, I liked that starting lineup. I thought that, like I said before, that Denver series was a lot closer. That was the closest 4-1 series I've seen. I mean, they were right there. They weren't that far off, even with poor performances. Now, I was disappointed.
And everybody just shot terribly.
Yeah, I was disappointed in both Rui and in Austin, especially because they both shined in previous playoffs. It wasn't like they're suddenly under the spotlight for the first time. Austin, I'm interested to see what he's going to look like with a normal summer off.
Well, Austin, we were ripping on his defense, Michael, for most of the season. The last 2 months,
he started getting better.
He got his act together, and he played his ass off against Jamal Murray on the defensive end. Jamal Murray, a lot of the reasons why he's been struggling so far in this playoffs started with what the Lakers did against him. Yes, he hit those 2 shots when they mattered the most. I get that. But look at his overall percentages on that. If you'd have asked me, Michael and Tom, about if you have Jamal Murray shooting not even 40% overall from the field, or actually, I think it was right on 40% overall from the field.
Won.
Yeah.
Except we shot 25% from 3.
That's the problem. I would have said we have a competitive chance against Denver, and which we did for 5 games. So, yes, I'm not going to. Austin, I've been ripping on his defense in FIBA for the most part of the season, but he got his act together. But again, it came at a price. He played so hard on defense, his offense suffered, Michael, in that series.
Right. Well, that's where I would have loved to have seen Vando available, even if it was to put him on Murray for 5 or 10 minutes here and there, because like he had the one big quarter in the second game that won it for them. He got 14 points. I don't think he gets 14 points against Vando. He might get 8 or 10.
Vando's easy to screen. He is so easy to screen off of. Denver found a way to get him off the floor in last year's playoffs.
Well, I think it was because of his offense more than his defense. He was not contributing offensively.
No, he became very mild underneath the basket. He wouldn't try to dunk it at all.
He's easy to scheme against, though. That's the thing.
But just from what I saw and when he was able to play, he was a different guy than he was last year. He really was. I mean, it's easy to forget because he missed a lot of games at the end of the year. But when he was on the court,
before he got injured, he was just playing elite.
He was.
That game was one of his best games when he got injured. It was just like so heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know, against the Celtics. Yeah, I mean, he was the reason why we, really got off to that great start.
And it didn't even look like a bad injury. It just, like.
Yeah, I thought maybe he twisted an ankle or something. Yeah, it was a shame. But getting back to, Austin and Rui, I think Rui, in some ways, I think some of Rui's problems were Darvin Ham problems. I think Darvin mismanaged Rui. I mean, Rui was our best 3-point shooter this year,
42%.
right? 42+%. How do you have a guy with that kind of ability? In 2 of those playoff games, he got 4 shots in each game. I mean, that's coaching malpractice,
Well, some of that, I am going to put a lot on coaching, Michael, but some of that has to be on the player to demand the ball. You've got as a player, if you know you're not getting your share of shots, Laker Tom, let's say when you were a player, you always told us those stories when you went way back when, as Joe would say, back in the 1920s. When I'm kidding. When you said you were aggressive, when you didn't get the ball, you demanded the ball. So if Rui is in that offense, in that huddle, he needs to speak up himself, Michael, as well.
Well,
so,
I
mean, not all of it's on him, I mind you. I'm just saying.
I understand that, but you're also playing with LeBron James, and you're also playing with Anthony Davis, and you're going for a young player. That's
hard to do.
Be hard to do. Say, hey, LeBron, give me the ball.
The Kelly.
I just think it's. I think, and it goes. Darvin's. We all complain about the lack of 3-point attempts. That's all coaching as well. I mean, we didn't do anything to create 3-point shots. Kick. Drive and kick. That was our 3-point or 3 in transition. We didn't run
the basket. If you can't get it, if you can't score, then pass it out to a 3-point shooter. Yeah.
So we really, I think Rui could have been. Let's just say he could have been used better. And
the truth of the matter is that Rui and Austin is a 6th man. Rui's a 7th or 8th or 9th man. They're not starters.
Yeah.
Here's what really bothered me about Rui, and I knew he was going to have a bad playoff. He made this comment about there's no way we should be beating the Denver Nuggets because they've played together as a team for longer than we have. Now,
he didn't say there's no way we should be. He's saying he was talking about they did have an advantage because
that's one of those like truths that you just don't say out loud. Yeah. Especially if you have the balls to think that you can beat them.
Now, the way I look at it, I mean, Austin's 25, Rui's 26, and they haven't even hit their prime years yet. The problem is that we don't have a lot of assets to do a lot of replacing.
Yep.
We're going to have to live with these guys to a certain extent unless they package.
They are our assets to replace them. That's the problem.
Yeah, but who are we going to get it?
Right. Well, the difference is there's 2 approaches. You could spend all of this money that you've got, all of this draft capital you got on a superstar. The other route you could take is to say, I'm not going to spend that on a superstar. Instead, what I'm going to do is I want to upgrade the 3 starters that we got. Let's not worry about getting a 3rd superstar. Let's just upgrade those 3 guys.
I don't think we have enough assets to upgrade 3 guys.
Well, if we have 3 first-round picks and 4 first-round swaps.
Yeah, but it's trades are 2
want to use those on a 3rd superstar or use those on 3 starters so that you can surround LeBron and AD with 3 guys who are as good as the 3 guys that the Nuggets surround Joker and Murray with.
Yeah, but we're not going to pick up guys that good with what we have. Well,
I don't know. You got an unprotected 29 and unprotected 31 first-round draft picks post LeBron and AD. Those picks are very enticing if you're going after, and then let's say you're not using them to buy for a superstar.
Well, look at what those 3 guys with Denver are making, though. They're making $20+ million a year.
Right.
We would have to package 2 of our guys to get one of them.
Yeah, of course.
So
but we got enough guys to package, because basically we're willing at this point in time, from every report I read, to trade everybody on this team, including Austin Reeves, if it's for a superstar.
Yeah. Well,
There's nobody untouchable. We want to keep obviously Bando because of his defense. We'd like to keep Austin because of his versatility. But if we had to, we'd trade even them.
You got to find somebody with the players you want that's willing to do the deal with you, and that's been an issue. That's a big issue. I mean, that's been an issue for the last several off seasons. Like Rob was talking about at the trade deadline. He was talking about you can't make trades if the house, you can't buy a house if it's not for sale. Is I think what he.
Well,
what he
but
said.
also too, if you're not willing to offer that first round pick, most of them, I just sold my house yesterday. And the last
congratulations.
Yeah, I know. I feel really great. Scary thing to go into after you've lived there for 45 years to sell it. I mean, it's like your whole fortune is in one hand.
Well, the Laker Tom mansion, though, probably went for what, 12, 13 billion?
Oh, yes, of course, right.
Just wanted to confirm. Okay.
The one thing I will say is that it's amazing. If anybody ever questions, the best investment that you can make is to buy a house, because it's just real estate just accrues. It gets bigger, more valuable through the years. We bought this house back in 1980, man. But at any rate, the Lakers need to figure out what they're going to do with the assets that they've got. They can blow them all on a third star. They can try to add players to fill the holes that they have in the starting lineup. They can keep the draft pick, or they can include the draft pick. They've got a lot of different options, but they probably don't have enough assets to fill all of the holes that they have.
No, they don't.
Well, here's my prediction, and they will attempt to make trades, and they might even succeed in making the trades. But the trades they make, nobody will have seen coming. I mean, when you look back after AD, I mean, we won a championship, and bam, we have Dennis Schroeder out of the blue. Nobody saw that coming, right? And then we had a deal for Buddy Hield. All they had to do was sign the papers, and all of a sudden we're with Westbrook out of the blue. Nobody saw that coming. And then you're
scaring me, Michael.
Utah was trying to make a deal to Minnesota wanted Conley, and we stepped in to facilitate them getting Conley out of the blue. Nobody saw that coming. So I'm not going to be surprised. I mean, we hear all these different names and stuff like that, but I'm not going to be surprised if there are trades that are out of the blue that nobody saw coming.
And those are the scariest trades.
Yeah, and probably everybody will think it sucked. So
Lakers trade for the number 1 draft pick to get Bronny James out of USC.
Trade AD for that number 1 pick.
Well, guys, it's been a great conversation. I'm glad I was able to go ahead and step in for Mr. Admiral Akbar, Jamie Sweet today. But Laker Tom and Michael, let me know what you guys are up to. Laker Tom, I'll start with you first. Laker Tom, you're the number 1 Lakers blogger that's out there. And I had the proof at one time to show you that one. What is going on with you at Laker Tom on Twitter and Lakerholics.com?
Well, every so often you try to write an article that's pertinent to the day and relevant to what's happening and going on. And I keep writing articles that I get halfway through and I can't finish them because I get another idea that I think is even better. And so I've been bouncing around. I've got like 6 or 7 articles that are like half finished, and it's frustrating because you just don't know what's going to happen, and there's so many different directions that you can go into. I still think everything comes down to the Lakers making the right decisions, and it all starts with the decision on the head coach, and we go from there. We will have a new head coach before the finals end, before the end of the finals, I'm positive. And that the worst is just 1 week between the finals until the draft. So we could be cutting it close. But on the same token, I think that it's going to be JJ Redick, and I think that the decision will be made at some point in time, early June, maybe.
We'll know in less than 2 weeks on the number 17 pick if we officially keep it. Although
what is the deadline for
June 1st for
June 1st
New
for
Orleans to
the
make a decision.
Pelicans to make a decision?
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I can't see the Pelicans. Basically, I can't see them wanting to, unless they have.
Well, if I was them, I would gamble on the Lakers being worse next season. I would.
Yeah, I mean,
so
well, they're going to trade this pick. This pick is going to be involved in a big deal involving Brandon Ingram, most likely. So I think the last thing they want to do is this pick at number 17 for the Lakers is not going to be as good as a 25 pick. You know, the 25.
I would still gamble on the Lakers not doing any better next season. So,
yeah.
But with that said, they can find your work and your latest articles at Lakerholics.com. Laker Tom.
Yep. Something will go out in the next day or two. One of those 7 articles.
Okay. And on that note, Michael, what do you do to go ahead and keep him and Jamie Sweet away from each other? But what are you also
Yeah, I'm always I'm always the voice of reason between those two.
That's believe me, I've done it on the air, Michael. I have been where you are at Lakerholics.com on this air between those two. Yes.
You know, really,
although Jamie and I have mostly in agreement right now.
Yeah. Well, you agree. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, you guys agreed on something.
Yeah.
But for me, you know, it doesn't really start to heat up until it's just the same recycled clickbait from now until we get close to the draft.
Yeah.
You know, the same names, the same everything, it just recycled over and over and over again. So I don't really start paying attention until we're starting to get close to the draft. And that's when some of the more substance begins to emerge, you know, in the rumors and things like that. Right now, who knows who's going to be available? Who knows if Mitchell's going to be available at this point? You know, everybody's speculating who's going to get him, but
we don't know if he's got to take his contract first. If he's up for an extension, which he will be, if he denies it, then everything goes into play.
Well, he said he's happy in Cleveland.
As soon as they've changed the rules, so as soon as the finals are over, these guys can now negotiate extensions.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They don't have to wait till the next year.
So we'll see who's available in reality. I mean, Atlanta, who are they going to stick with? Or, you know, I got a feeling they're going to trade one of the guys, but who will it be? You know, I mean, there's just a lot of until you get closer to the draft. I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of recycled stuff, and you can read the same article by different authors over and over and over and over again. So I'll start paying more attention as we get closer to the draft. I'll start also paying a little bit more attention to the prospects in case we do utilize that pick. And I'm with you, Tom, on that. I think we should. There are some good centers, and I think we should grab one of them at the 17 if we're going to keep that pick.
Yeah, makes sense. And it also fits our thing that we never like to spend a lot of money on a center.
Yeah. So we'll see. I did write one of the longest articles I think I've ever written, and I hit send and it disappeared. I didn't know how to get it where it went. So I'll probably.
That's why I always write them in Word.
Yeah, I'll probably revisit that what I talked about. Although I talked about some of the points today that I had in that article. So we'll see. It's going to be a interesting and probably frustrating summer. I'm hoping.
I'm almost hopeful of the other side of it because I do think that the Lakers are doing the right things in all of the discussions that I hear about what they're doing and looking for the new coach. I like the plan that they've done. I like the objectives that they set out of of treating it to be a long-term coach rather than a short-term solution. And so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that they can execute on it.
Yeah.
And if they can do that, that's probably the most important move this summer. Who's going to be our coach for the next
Well, it has to be
10 or 12 years?
Yeah, it has to be.
But we will find out, and I will make sure we're here when that happens. We have done our best to go ahead and provide you continuous entertainment and continuous talk on the Los Angeles Lakers. And we are truly indebted to both you, Michael, and you, Tom, for stopping by each and every time out on the weekends here as part of Lakers Weekend and as part of what you guys do at Lakerholics.com. So, yes, absolutely. We will go ahead and make sure we continue on with the great stuff. Maybe have a show tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know. It's up to Joe. Playback tonight. I know people were asking. I don't know if Joe, Sean, or Nick will do a playback tonight because I will be unavailable. But if it is, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. Join them for all the playoff action as far as great scoreboard and chat stuff that they do each and every time out on playback. I will probably
be going to be a couple of great games tomorrow, man.
Yes, tomorrow, Game 7.
Game 7s.
Yep, and if Oklahoma City wins, it'll be a Game 7 on Monday as well. So at least if we're not in it, at least we're having some good content to watch, and hopefully one of those teams will beat the socks off of Boston. So, and we'll go ahead.
Boston will not win the championship.
I certainly hope not.
The winner of Denver and Minnesota will win the championship.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. That that's the actual main title match.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and publish that. We don't need to deal with it anymore.
Just give them the trophy.
Yep, there you go. But once again, it is the guys from Lakerholics.com. Go ahead and check out Michael Heinrich, check out Laker Tom, and check out Jamie Sweet when they're not arguing with each other about what Bronny James's actual career will be at Lakerholics.com. Guys, great to have you here. Looking forward to your conversation next weekend when Jamie is most likely back in this chair, but always great to have you here. Hoping L. Rob or Sean can come back as well. Looking forward to your return and also everyone out there's return coming right back at us right here. It's part of a great Lakers weekend at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.